Hi, students at Hyman Brand Hebrew Academy. My name is Jeanne Chambers, and as you probably can guess, I'm the founder of the 70273 project. And I just want to thank you so much for choosing to participate. I understand from Miss Karen and Miss Netta that several of you, of different ages, decided to say yes when choosing your classes for this winterim, I guess is what it is. And I am just so proud of you for doing that and for becoming a part of this. I don't know how many of you sewed ever before, but by now, I'm sure you know how to thread a needle and how to make the basic sewing stitch, which is a very good thing to know because you can sew your own buttons on now and you can hem your own pants and skirts. And that's a trait that you'll carry with you the rest of your life. Hopefully you'll also carry the memory of being a part of this project, of using symbols and quilts to commemorate, to memorialize the 70,273 people of all ages who were murdered simply because they were different. That's not okay. And I'm sure you know that, but I just want to say it again. That is not okay. When you open yourself up to being friends with, or at least to conversing with, to talking with, to being curious with, to asking questions to people who are different from you, people who dress differently, people who talk differently. You might notice a little accent falling out of my mouth. People tell me that I have one. I'm from the South. I talk funny. I probably need subtitles, but I don't know how to do that yet on my phone. So just listen closely and we'll get through this. But people who are different can open you up to learn a lot of different things and to have a lot of fun adventures. Again, I thank you so much for participating in this project, and I want to tell you what's going to happen with your blocks that you've made. They will be put together in a quilt, much like this one that's behind me. This one behind me was made in the UK. We call it across the pond. And all of these blocks were made by people in the UK, and they were all put together in this quilt. And so that's what will happen to yours. They'll be put together in a quilt, and on the quilt, on the back of the quilt, we'll have a label, an official label of the project that has the logo of the project, tells what the project is about, and then it lists the names of everybody who had a hand in making this quilt. The person who pieced the blocks together to make the quilt top, the person who quilted them, which is when you put 3 layers together, the quilt top, the batting, and a backing fabric. And then the finisher, the person who finished off the quilt and made the edges nice and neat and bound, we call it binding, when they bound the edges of the quilt. Your names, unless you chose to remain anonymous, and that's perfectly okay, your names will go on the quilt label as well, and it will tell where you're from. Your school's name will be on the label, and if you dedicate your block or blocks to any one person or an entity, a group or a club or something, that will also go on the label. All of this information goes on the label, and then down at the bottom it's a if found. If the quilt gets lost in shipment, they know how to get in touch with me and return the quilt to us. And then once all of that is done and it's all in our database, your quilt will join about 1,000 other quilts of the 70,273 project and travel around the world telling this story, the story of this atrocity and the story of kindness and compassion, which is the most important part. It's your job now to make sure you do not ever bully anybody else or mistreat anybody else. You don't have to like everybody. That's an impossible expectation. But you do have to be kind to them, and you do have to show respect to them. And when you see somebody else being bullied, it's your job to do something about that. Whether it's tell an adult or take the person out of the situation, your adults will tell you what's best for you to do. There are lots of different options that you can exercise. And in the snap of an eye, some people would say the wink of an eye, in the snap or wink of an eye, you'll be an adult. And it will be your responsibility to join other people around the world to make sure that something of this magnitude never, ever, ever happens again. That people are never murdered simply because they are different. That is unacceptable. And we have to take a stand against it. And you have taken a stand against it by creating your blocks and by making your quilt. And I look forward to showing you your finished quilt, and we'll call my collections manager and get a quilt number for your quilt. All of this information, all of the information that I told you that's on the label, along with photos, will eventually go into a database that will be online. As you can imagine, I'm working with people in 143 countries, so I'm a little bit behind on things like entering into databases. Fortunately, I have some very good volunteers who are busy at work with that task right now. So this database will be online, and you'll be able to go to the website for the project, look up your name, unless you've chosen to remain anonymous, and then you'll just have to know your quilt number and look it up by quilt number, and you can see where in the world your quilt is, where in the world your blocks are on any given day of any given year. Again, they're just going to travel the world for as far as the calendar can see, telling this important story. And you've chosen to be a part of it, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm very grateful to you. I hope one day I'll get to meet you in person and tell you that to your face. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Miss Karen and Miss Netta, for making this happen. And thank you, students, for adding your hearts and your hands to this important project.